Have you ever found yourself staring at a receipt from a client lunch, just feeling that little bit of doubt, wondering, can I actually claim the VAT back on this? Trust me, you are not alone. It is one of the trickiest questions for any UK business, and, getting it wrong could mean you're overpaying tax, or worse, facing a dreaded inquiry from HMRC. That's exactly why we've teamed up with the experts at Pro Tax Accountant to give you the real answers.
So let's make this real. Imagine Alex. She runs a growing design agency right in the middle of London. She's always taking potential clients out for coffee, and she really wants to throw an amazing Christmas party for her team this year. Every single one of those expenses has a VAT question mark hanging over it. Is she doing it right, or is she just leaving money on the table? Well, let's find out together. The good news is, you don't have to guess anymore. The team over at Pro Tax Accountant have done the hard work. They've untangled all of HMRC's complicated rules and turned them into a simple, clear roadmap. So over the next few minutes, we're going to walk you through it step by step, so you can make your claims with total confidence. Let's get right into it. So here's our game plan. First, we'll start with the absolute basics. What even is business entertainment in HMRC's eyes? Then, we'll look at the rules for your team versus your clients, and believe me, they are worlds apart. After that, we'll dive into a really important exception for overseas customers before we tackle all those tricky areas like parties and gifts. And don't you worry, we'll wrap it all up with a super simple summary at the end. Okay, first things first, we have to get this foundation right because literally every other rule we're going to talk about builds on this one core idea. So what exactly does HMRC mean when they say business entertainment? Well, the official definition is actually surprisingly simple. It's basically any kind of hospitality that you provide for free to a non-employee. That's it. It could be a coffee, it could be a concert ticket. If it's free and it's for someone who isn't on your payroll, that's business entertainment. Just burn those two words into your brain, free and non-employee, because they are the key to unlocking everything else. And right here, this is probably the single most important rule in this entire guide. I want you to think of it like a huge dividing line. On one side, you've got your staff. Entertainment for them, the VAT is pretty much always reclaimable. But on the other side, you have everyone else, your clients, suppliers, contacts. Entertainment for them, the VAT is almost always blocked. Seriously, if you can get this one distinction right, you've already won 90% of the battle. So let's start on the good news side of that line, treating your own team. Generally speaking, HMRC is on your side at this one. They tend to see things like staff parties or team lunches as a totally legitimate business expense, something essential for morale and motivation.
But here's a crucial little detail that trips so many people up. Who exactly counts as staff? Well, as you can see, it's not just your employees on the payroll. Directors and partners, they're in. But look who's out. Subcontractors, freelancers you work with, and even job applicants you might be interviewing over lunch. This is such a common mistake. If they're not on your payroll, then for VAT purposes, they are not your staff. So that naturally leads to a classic question, especially for a small business like Alex's. If directors count as staff, can two co-directors take themselves out for a nice dinner to celebrate landing a big new contract and then just reclaim the VAT? What do you think? And the answer, which catches a lot of people by surprise, is a hard no. HMRC's logic, a bit strange as it is that directors don't need the business to pay to motivate themselves. So that fancy directors-only dinner, the VAT's blocked. But, and this is the important part, if those exact same directors go to the all-staff Christmas party, the VAT on their share of the cost is totally fine to reclaim. The rule is, it has to be for the benefit of all staff, not just for the bosses. Now, this brings us to a fantastic pro tip that clears up so much confusion. I'm sure you've heard about that £150 per head rule for parties, right? Well, here's the secret. That has absolutely nothing to do with VAT. That's an income tax rule, all about whether the party becomes a taxable benefit for your employees. When it comes to reclaiming the VAT you actually spent, there is no upper cost limit. You could spend £500 a head on a staff party, and as long as it's for genuine staff morale, the VAT is still reclaimable. Okay, so that's the good news for your team. Now let's step over to the other side of that line and talk about the much, much stricter rules for hosting clients and other non-employees. This is really where most businesses get tripped up. So why is HMRC so tough on this? I mean, we all know that taking a client out to lunch is great for business, but HMRC's perspective is just different. They see it more as a social gesture, like a thank you or a nicety, not as a direct, necessary cost of doing business, like buying raw materials. And because they don't see it as strictly necessary, the VAT claim is blocked. And this brings us right back to that classic real-world problem. Let's go back to Alex's Christmas party. She's got her 20 staff members coming, which is great, but she's also invited 30 of her top clients to thank them for a great year. She gets one massive invoice for the whole thing. So how on earth is she supposed to handle the VAT on that? The answer is a fun little word: apportionment. You basically have to split the VAT bill exactly the same way you split the guest list. In Alex's party, there are 50 guests in total, right? And 20 of them are staff. So she can claim back the VAT just for the staff portion, which is 20 out of 50 or 40% of the total VAT bill. The other 60%, the part for the clients, is blocked. It's really that simple. Okay, so we've established that client entertainment VAT is pretty much a no-go. But there is one very, very specific exception to this rule. Now, stay with me here, because this next part is a bit niche, but it could genuinely save you some serious money. It's all about entertaining overseas customers. First up, let's be crystal clear on what this means. For this exception to even be a possibility, we're talking about an existing overseas customer. This is someone who already buys from you and isn't based in the UK. It does not apply to that potential client from France you're trying to win over or your supplier from Germany. They have to be a current paying customer. But even if you're entertaining a genuine overseas customer, you're not out of the woods yet. To reclaim the VAT, the expense has to pass 3 tough tests. It has to be for a strict business purpose, it has to be reasonable in scale, and, this is the one that catches everyone out, it can't provide a significant private benefit to the person you're hosting.
So what on earth does private benefit mean in the real world? Well, this slide shows it perfectly. Let's say you bring in some sandwiches and coffee to your office so your meeting with that overseas client can run through lunch. That's seen as a necessary business cost. The VAT is reclaimable. But the second you take them out to a proper restaurant or serve alcohol, HMRC says that's a private benefit. It's become enjoyable, not just necessary. And that one simple act completely wipes out the entire VAT claim.
All right, let's tackle a few more of these common pitfalls, especially the kinds of things that pop up around Christmas or when you just want to send a little thank you. First up, business gifts. When it comes to the VAT rules on business gifts, there is one single number you absolutely have to remember, and that number is £50. Here's the deal. As long as the total value of all the gifts you give to any single person stays under £50, that's before VAT, in any 12-month period, you are golden. You can reclaim the VAT when you buy the gift, and you don't have to worry about a thing. But you've got to be careful. If you give one client 3 separate £20 gifts over a year, you've hit 60. You've breached the limit, and now you have to account for output VAT on the whole lot. It's a real trap. Okay. Get ready for a tip from the pro tax accountant team that is a genuine game changer. This might sound a little crazy, but I promise you it is absolutely within the rules. Remember that core principle we talked about. VAT on client entertainment is blocked because the hospitality is free. So, what if it wasn't free? If you charge your clients a small, compulsory fee to come to an event, the whole legal definition changes, and suddenly the block on reclaiming VAT can just disappear. Let's look at this in action with a real example from the experts. A firm hosts a party for 70 staff and 50 clients. The cost is £75 a head plus VAT. Now, normally, they could only claim the VAT for the staff part, but instead, they charge each of their 50 clients a compulsory token ticket price. Because the event is no longer free for the clients, the business can now reclaim the entire input VAT bill for all 120 guests. It's amazing. Even after they account for the VAT on the tickets they sold, the saving is huge. It is a perfectly legitimate way to turn a blocked cost into a reclaimable one. Phew! We have covered a huge amount of detail there, haven't we? So let's just take a moment and boil it all down to the key rules you really need to take away from this. Here it is, your 5 golden rules. Number 1, VAT on entertaining your own staff is usually good to go. Number 2, VAT on entertaining clients is almost always blocked. Number 3, if you have a mixed party with staff and clients, you absolutely must split the VAT claim. Number 4, that exception for overseas customers only applies to very basic, necessary hospitality. And finally, number 5, for gifts, just remember the magic number, £50 per person per year. Now, just a quick and really important disclaimer. This has been a guide to the general rules. VAT can be incredibly complex and your specific circumstances might be different, so you should always seek professional advice before making any financial decisions based on this. So, The bottom line is this: getting VAT on entertainment right saves you money, and it keeps you safe. If you're looking for expert advice that's tailored specifically to your business, whether it's on this or any other tax matter, we can't recommend the team who made this all possible enough. You can reach ProTax Accountant directly by WhatsApp or phone on 7985 689 912. Again, that's 7985 689 912. Or you can just pop them an email at info@protaxaccountant.co.uk. Don't guess, get it right from the very start.